Yo, this is Yoosaf, Odinson, and you're watching the Three Count Podcast.
Do you wanna get live with me? Do you really wanna ride with me? I'm in the club, baby, grind on me.
Welcome, everybody, to another great edition of the Three Count Podcast presents Now Entering, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And by now, you know, this being season 5 or 380 something episode, I would just hope you say with me, I am your Sherpa, because like your tribal chief, acknowledge me. But like every good Sherpa, you gotta have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficiently than you can. And that's why it's never about me, it's about who's into the ring. So who's into the ring? You can find this person at SNW, BTC, TOS, TNT, and so many other promotions. He is an actor, he is a model, he is a wrestler, he is an Asgardian, he is Yoosaf Odinson.
What up?
What up? Hey, you know what? I'm gonna be honest though, out of like every single episode I've ever done on this podcast, this is the first time that we've done one where someone has been in the gym working out.
Oh, yeah, well, I got to stay working out. You didn't give me enough notice. You were like, hey, want to do a podcast? And I was like, heck yeah, give me a reminder. And then you were like, nah, that ain't happening.
Full transparency, I was like, I forgot the day before. I forgot to tell you. But it is what it is. No, but it works out because you know what? This is kind of a thing that I feel like a lot of people don't realize is that I mean, it's a well-known secret that people in the wrestling industry work out, but they don't ever get to see someone work out. So it's like, this is a fun time to peep in, drop in, and check it out.
Yeah, no, I started working out a long time ago. I used to almost be 300 pounds.
Oh, word.
Yeah, I ended up recovering from a broken back. So doing that kind of gave me the gusto to just keep going to the gym and stay active. So that's kind of what I've been doing since the injury. So keep moving, stay active.
Yeah.
It's temporary. I guess it's not temporary. Pain is all the time. You just get tougher.
You just gotta learn to deal with it and work around it. No, because it was funny because like you and I have talked, like we met at Supernova, but then like we've actually traveled,
Yeah.
down to Philly and back up, and it was one of those things where like I was telling you about how like my daughter had called me squishy, and that's like what started me on my fitness journey to get back in shape. And then not just to get back into shape, but to like stay in shape because it's like it's important, like one, being physically fit is important, but two, like if you want to be in a wrestling business, you should be in the gym, like working out because it's kind of important to be able to pick people up and set them down safely.
Yeah. And that's a big piece that you need strength. But I mean, don't. I think as long as people are at the gym, it doesn't bother me if they're wrestling. It's the people who never hit the gym, who never train, that give me the heebie-jeebies.
It is weird to think that there's a lot of people out there who are like, I could just go in there and just make it up on the fly, and I'll be good. Like
I went to 3 seminars, man. 3 seminars.
I saw I had a guy, yeah, no doubt. Like I knew a guy who one time, right? He had claimed that he'd been training at one training center and he'd never been there. And he claimed that he'd been training at one that I had been training at, but I had only seen him like one time, and he like stopped in, said hey, and then bounced. And then like he was in a match with a friend of mine and like was trying to like run all the spots going on and like didn't even know what he was doing. So my friend put him like in a rest hold to kind of like, hey yo, like calm down, what's going on? Why are you going all spastic? The kid tapped out and walked out the ring.
Huh.
Like, like I don't know what he thought he was getting into, but he just tapped out and then just bounced. Was like, I'm done. I'm out. I'm done with this match. So it was really weird, and we were all really confused. But we're like, what the hell's going on?
I mean, it's a dangerous business because a lot of people get away with a lot of stuff they shouldn't. And a lot of people aren't doing anything and they just see it on TV and they go, I'm going to go practice that. And because they happen to be naturally fit, they feel like they don't have to go to the gym. I saw this meme and it was like wrestlers in the '90s. It's like Pakistan, which is a bad example. But it's like wrestlers in 2024. He's just a little, stick figure guy. It's like, wow.
So crazy enough, that meme, I'm actually friends with the guy that's in the meme. I didn't even realize that till the other day when I was looking through and I saw that meme pop up, and then he was like, "Yo, we've made it," and I was like, "Oh shit, that's." I was like, "Oh my god."
Yeah, I wouldn't sleep on those Mad Noodle dudes because they're strong in their own way.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't sleep on anybody. I'm just saying, the world kind of does have a point in a small way.
Yeah. I mean, like I know because like what the thing was is that we had all these wrestlers that were like all juiced up in like the late '80s, early '90s, and into the 2000s. Let's be real, it was going on till like probably like early 2000s, and then it was just not really talked about. But we all know like there's a certain creatine that the boys get on, you know.
Oh yeah, super creatine.
And then like people just like talk about how like they're yeah, look how great I look in 6 months. And I'm like, yeah, but if you peed in a cup right now, I bet you would tell us a different story.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you're right
Oh,
there.
so tell me, man, I want to know this question. Who is Yoosaf?
You said, I'm just me, man. I know it's kind of a lame question. Everything I kind of preach I do, just crank to 11 like everybody does. Like I eat raw meat. I'm a savage. I normally don't hold my tongue, but I have to these days. uh, yeah, I mean, I work out, I train, I got a dog, I go to class. I have a YouTube channel, a couple of them. One for wrestling, and the other one is for Shadow Laugh Productions. It's my like creativity one with a buddy, fellow wrestler Damian Darko.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of those videos though. I remember like we were talking about that in the car, and I was watching a couple of days later. I started watching a couple of the videos, and I was like, "Oh man, this is actually kind of fun." I was like, I want to do wild like short films like this."
You should. I mean, you have everything that it takes to be on camera and produce film. Like you're classically good looking, my friend, and you got charisma with the balls. That's pretty good. So, and you stay fit. I mean, that's the trifecta of wrestling. You cut a decent promo. Yeah, man. I'd book you.
I think that's the thing. Actually, it was funny because I was just like reading, and a friend of mine had put up a post about like why is it so hard for a promoter to get promos from wrestlers being on my show. And a friend of mine put up a reply. He was like, "Listen, I love cutting promos as much as the next person, but the problem is like I don't have a direction to run in, and I love cutting promos anytime. Like you can ask me to drop promos anytime, and I will. But if you don't tell me like what I'm doing, you're like, yeah, cut this promo that you're gonna be here. I'm like, what am I doing? Oh, we'll figure it out when you get here. I'm like, or you can just tell me, and that way I can tell the story a lot better. I was like, you know,
I mean, that makes a lot of sense too, right?
yeah. I was like, could you imagine just like cut a promo and be like, hey, I'm gonna be here at KDW, and what you can do is check me out this day at this location at this time, and watch me beat up somebody.
It's pretty
I guess you
nice.
could sell
Yeah.
it though, is if you're really good at like doing your character stuff.
Well, I mean, the best way to be a character is really not to have one at all, and just kind of like let it all out. Because
Yeah.
I found out when I was like doing promos for people, I felt like I was lying. And they'd be like, "Oh, say that you hate him and this, that, and the other thing." I'm like, "What?" Like when people were feeding me lines, and I'm like, "I don't hate anything. What the heck?" So I just came up with my own stuff. I remember the first time I cut a promo. Uh, I was at Bo Douglas's school, and they were like, "Just say this, this, and this," and I was like, "All right, whatever." And I said, "Can I just do my own thing?" And Bo was like, "Go ahead," and I nailed it. I was like, "Games upon the miracle known as Unicromium, Savage Assault Force 0.1, #13," and I just kind of went off on that. and it was pretty fire. And yeah, it's a long time ago though.
I remember the first promo I did was actually against Big Trouble Ben Bishop, and I had a at the time like my character was like very militaristic and he was like very super serious. Like there was nothing like no jokes about him. He was just like checking out intel and just like putting it all together. And then like it just felt unnatural. And so like my trainer was like, "Well, go ahead, cut a promo the way you would cut it." And I was like, "Hi, this is very awkward to put out there, but I just want to let you know." And then like he was like, "All right, cut. We just do that every time."
So yeah, that's the biggest thing. I think that like some promoters will try to write me a script and it just doesn't work.
Yeah,
So it's like, why are you trying to do that? You don't know me. Like, how can a promoter write a script for you? They don't know who you are. They act like you hang out every day or something.
right.
Just it's the best just to be natural. Like I got a lot of energy, so I use that. I mean, I do take crazy meds. That's an awesome thing. That keeps me not crazy.
Yeah,
And
I've got like I've got some homework that I got to get done too. I got to cut a couple promos for a couple promotions and stuff like that. But they at least give me the direction of knowing where I'm supposed to go. So I'm like, good. Now I got to find different ways of like cutting them because like I think for me, what my favorite thing is to do is, and I had a friend, a good friend of mine, PJ Savage, say he was like, "Do you like to throw spaghetti at the wall and just see what sticks?" And I was like, "No, I just like to think of how many different ideas like one person can do a promo and find different ways of doing it."
is there like an unwritten animosity for the Savage Guild?
I don't I don't know. I don't
Like Eric the Savage Pierce, PJ Savage, The Savage, Danny Savage, Adam Savage. You know, it's just like we all hate each other, I guess, but not. I don't. It's like, oh, you're the Savage Assault Force. Well, I'm this. It's like, oh okay,
well,
we
I
could
guess
both
it
be
kind of
things.
I mean it kind of works with like dog. Like everybody for some reason thinks that like I should know everybody. Like oh, you know who Yellow Dog is? I'm like, no. In fact, I don't even think they work anymore, but no, I have no idea who that is. And then someone asked me a question. It was a couple years back that was like uh besides yourself, name your top 5 favorite dogs in wrestling. And I was like, oh, that's a hard question. I was like, I don't know, the big dog, Roman Reigns. Like, I don't
I mean, the first thing that came to mind was the British Bulldog, Junkyard Dog.
dog face gremlin. Rick
Oh yeah, Steiner.
Rick Steiner. That's my other one. I was like, yeah, that's my dude, Road Dog, Jesse J.
Yeah,
Like Road Dog Jesse. I can do that. But I was like thinking of like different dogs I could go with. Junkyard Dog was one of my names. I remember that. And then like
yeah.
but it's crazy to think about like that name. And then and actually the one I did say too was actually the OG Red Dog. Uh I was like, "Yo, let me get the OG too," and everybody was laughing because they were like, "Oh, I know who you're talking about too." And you know, at the time we were friends, but now we're not really talking as much. So I'm just like, it is what it is.
That's pretty rough.
But yo, so you're in the business, and I just want to know what. By the way, for those who are trying to figure out who the OG Red Dog is, it's Rodney Mack. I just we haven't talked. We haven't talked. We talked one time on Twitter. But yo, you've been in the business for a while, so I'm just wanting to know, uh, what was that moment that made you want to get into the business?
That's an easy one. Well, I always like as a kid, I always dreamed of it. Obviously, everybody does that. Like that's not different than anyone. The part that got me was like I never capitalized on it at all. I lived in the middle of Massachusetts in a poor city with no car and no training halls anywhere near me. So I kind of like didn't get a chance to train so much later. But I broke my back in 2015, and the doctor he was all like, "Your life's not going to change. You can do anything you wanted to do. You know, Like I'm like, my whole life's over. And he was all like, no, you're fine. What did you want to do? I'll tell you about it. I'll tell you how you can get it done. I'm like, well, I want to be a professional wrestler. And he laughed in my face. And he was all like, I meant something serious. And, I wasn't fully paralyzed, and I still have pins and needles in my foot and my left calf is what it is. But that just drove me to like kind of like relearn how to walk, kind of relearn how to do everything. And over time, I just got a little better at everything. And I walked into a place in Florida, and they were like, "Oh, we're worried about your back," and I was like, "Okay." And then I walked into Bo Douglas's school, and he had broken his back too. And he was like, "No, I'll take you in. I know exactly what to do." And it took me a real long time to learn how to bump. And every time I got out of the ring, I felt like I got run over by a truck. And when I tell people that if your body's not used to taking that kind of damage, you're screwed. Like, you're gonna hate it. Like, there are times I couldn't get out of bed, and everyone's just like, "Oh no, you're being a wimp." I'm talking like my muscles physically didn't work. They were like, "Nah, you're staying in bed today." You know, to get into wrestling shape, and I'm still not even fully in shape. It took me easily 5 years. It's, I don't know. I hope none of my kids ever want to do it.
No, it was funny because I remember like the first bump I took, like being taught how to take my first bump. I got tabletopped, and like my daughter taught me just like take a bump, bam, hit the ground, and I was just like, oh, but I kind of liked it. It was like the weird sick feeling, and I was like, I'm gonna keep doing this. And I
Oh,
just
so check this out. So watch this. So the first bump, you guys are gonna eat me for a little treat. So I grew up with this guy. He's a massive psycho. He's awesome. He's not really a psycho. He's a genius. He's like a doctor. He's right here. And he's the guy who gave me my first bump. I apologize for interrupting. It's my buddy Josh. He bumped me from a suplex onto a table at the Knight's Quest. You remember that? I speared him, and he just picked me up, and he put me through a table at the Knight's Quest. And that's when I first knew I was gonna. I love you too, man. That first time I knew I was gonna be a professional wrestler. When I was
nice.
a teenager. Sorry, it's just weird that he was right there. We go to the same gym. We have been for like a million years.
Nice.
Uh,
Well, all right. Well, speaking of taking bumps, then what was the worst bump you've taken?
oof. So I don't think I've taken a bad bump. I've broken my toe jumping out of the ring once, and that's not a bump. Like, I got hit out of the ring weird, and I wasn't ready to do it, and I broke my toe. And then one time I was getting pinned by my classmate, and I had my hand out like crucifix style, and my finger was up, and my classmate, he was a big kid, came down on it, and it hit me. He broke my finger, and like I felt it in my neck. I was trying to get out because I didn't tell anybody I was hurt. And then another classmate's like, "No, you got to finish it." So I went in and finished all the stuff. But like everything I did from there, I felt it in my neck. And I think those are my worst bumps.
Hmm.
Other than that, it's all been like I got hit in the head by a pole, and I got a big lump on my head. Or like when I got hit in the back with a golf club, like for reals. Like really reals. Like it was so real. I hate when people were like, "It's fake." Yeah, I haven't wore that mark for 6 months. So like, fake my ass.
I feel like this thing, like a lot of people forget that. Like I had someone ask me, they're like, "How real is it of getting slammed on the ground?" I was like, "Well, I can tell you, taking a shoulder bump from standing is equivalent to being in a 35-mile-an-hour car crash when you hit the ground." And they're like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, every time."
Every time.
I was like, every time it hurts. Like we just don't talk about it. We just hit the ground, we get back up, and we do it again.
You know what's weird is because like once the bell rings, like so when I'm behind the curtain, you can ask anybody who's in the locker room with me. I start gagging up. Like my nerves kick on. I want to vomit. And that's all I want to do. And it's like, and it's people are like whatever. But as soon as I go through the curtain, it's showtime. I'm completely fine. Like, and I don't feel anything. It's when the ride home after you've sat down, you shook everybody's hand, you know, you gave love where it was due. You picked up your check and you were driving home and with your buddy. And that moment you stop for gas, or the moment you get out and try to get out of your house, whatever you stop after that long time, and you try to get up. That's when it's like, ugh, you felt it all. Then it's like delayed injury.
100%, 100%.
Like, it's like the moment you stand up, somebody just comes over like the Flash and just punches you 1,000 times.
It's funny because you mentioned about getting nervous and stuff like that, and the one thing that I do to help get my nerves like cleared out is like I bring a bag of gummy bears, and I'll just be snacking on gummy bears in the back, like every single time.
That's really smart.
Well, actually, I was in a match with a dude named Beastman in West Virginia, and I had smashed some like gummy bears, and I would stop feeling nervous because I showed up to expect to be doing like a 5 to 10 minute match, right? And as soon as I get there, Beastman came to me. He was like, "Hey, do you feel like going 20 minutes?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." Knowing that my longest match period had been like 8 minutes at most. So here I am about to be putting this 20 to 25 minute match with this dude who, like, I just have no idea, right? And so I started eating gummy bears. I started feeling good. We had the match. The match went well, and he even said so himself. And then like the following week, I went to another show. I wasn't eating any gummy bears. The match went okay. So the next week, I brought another bag of gummy bears with me, and then the match went really well. And I was like, "All right, well, this is a thing now, so this is just gonna happen."
I
And
thought
so
you were
now,
worried about your sugar intake, but you're just more, no, this is luck.
yeah, this is all like
Lucky gummy
superstition
bears.
now. I mean, if anybody understands superstition, is like Boston Red Sox fans, man. So like, I'm just like, all right,
The Red
just eat
Sox.
gummy bears in the back. Yo, tell me about the hardest lesson you've had to learn being in the business.
Keeping your mouth shut. No, no, seriously. So, I I got a lot of I've gotten a lot of heat in the business, and one of the things is like sometimes it's better not left not to say anything at all, because if you the moment you open your mouth, you're gonna make an enemy. Or like, don't jump on trends. I wish someone would have taught me that. Like when I tell people I'm behind, like I'm behind. Like people don't get it. Like I school wasn't for me. Social cues are weird. But I'm behind, so I didn't know when somebody was like, "Oh, this person." There's like a one person who can legitimately be mad at me, and it's because I jumped on that, Me Too movement, and it was a false. It was one of the false ones. So like, oh, and even though I've said sorry, it doesn't matter. The damage is done with that. But another thing is I took the business too seriously. But that's because the people who were training me were mad old school, and they take it seriously. Where I could have took it with a modicum of respect instead of like law and dogma. Do you see what I'm
Yeah,
trying to say? Like I had an altercation with someone you had mentioned before. I ended up slapping them because they got in my face and they were like, "You doing on my face?" And I was like, "Okay." So I slapped the person. It sucked, and it got me expelled from my school for a while for wrestling. And like I didn't know I should have just left. I thought I was under the impression I had to literally get everyone's permission to leave, and that if I didn't, they would hate me. That's literally what I was under the thing, that they were gonna say that I'm not putting in my dues and I'm a piece of shit, like blanket party hate. And I'm like, huh. When I realized I could just friggin' left, got to work at 6 o'clock in the morning, 2 hours away, and just not gave a crap what these people had to think. But like I told you, I'm slow. It takes me a long time to learn lessons. So for me, I just wish someone would have told me to just leave. I wish, like literally, one time I had to ask everyone to leave, and I wish someone just said, "Get out of here," because that's what happened every other time since. When I've watched other people do it. Hey, dude, gotta pick up my kid at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's 2 a.m. Gotta go. All right, peace out. Hey, dude, I gotta go to work at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's 2 a.m. Oh, you gotta put in your dues. Everybody's gotta work. nobody was on the right side of like history that day. So that's all I'm trying to say. I was just like, I would have just been like, yo, just get out of here. I don't give a crap. I'll do your work. And that's what I did at XWA when people had to go early anywhere. I'm just, dude, I get it. But people like to put their own mind onto every action. So some people might take that offensively.
No, I understand. Well, hey, I'm gonna hop this over to my favorite part of the 3 Count Podcast, and that's the 3 Count Podcast 10 count questions. And Mr. Odinson, this is how it works. I'm gonna fire off 10 questions at you rapid fast, and whatever your answer is, that is your answer.
All right, let's get it going.
All right, so I'm gonna put on the imaginary timer for added pressure.
Yep.
Bing! And in the words of
geez.
my favorite commentator, Mike Goldberg, here we go. SmackDown or Raw?
Raw.
Favorite actor?
Bad. What's his name? Gary Sinise.
Gary Sinise. I like that. That was a good pick. Apple or Android?
Apple.
Favorite TV show?
Oof. Ouch. Oh. Ow. Oh no. Ow. That's a hard one. Oh no. Oof. Breaking Bad, I guess.
It's a good pick. Good pick.
Or
waffles. Waffles or pancakes?
Waffles.
Favorite movie?
Oof. Probably Barry Gordon's The Last Dragon.
Okay, I like that.
Barry Gordon, yeah.
Marvel or DC?
Marvel.
Favorite podcast?
Oh, the 3 Count Podcast.
That's right. That's the best answer. Nominate one person that you want to see on this podcast.
Ooh. Bo Douglas. Have you had him on there?
No, not yet. I want to, though. 100%.
Bo Douglas.
And then last but not least, my favorite question asked every single person who comes on this podcast. Favorite curse word?
Oh, man, it's the C word.
Yeah.
It is. I'm sorry. I don't know. If Australians can get away with it, I should be able to get away with it.
I think
Never
we
say
can
it
get
out
away
loud.
with it. It's a word. Like, what are people going to say? Just because you say "see you next Tuesday" does not mean anything to nobody else. I've had that word said on the show like 3 times.
I just feel like that's the naughtiest word.
Bad. Well,
Like the C word. Like half the
It is.
population could say the N word, but no one can say the C word without saying something. It's amazing.
yeah, it is wild. But no, those are all my questions for you, man. So the last thing I need you to do is to let our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you.
Facebook, Yoosaf Odinson. TikTok, Yoosaf Odinson. YouTube, Yoosaf13. And Shattered Laugh Productions. That's Shattered, like laugh. Productions on YouTube. Check it out. We're funny. Yeah, we're funny.
Bet. Well, he told you where you can find him. So what does that mean? We gotta do like every great part of a wrestling match and take this home. Because this is the 3 Count Podcast Business Now Entering, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And like every good Sherpa, it's never about me, it's about who's entering. So who's entering? You see him right there in the weight room, the legend himself, Yoosaf Odinson. And you guys know what to do. Tune in to the next episode and be there, or you're legitimately waiting for this podcast to end because you're following us on all of our social media platforms. You're checking us out on YouTube. You even subscribe to us. You're following us on Spotify. You're giving us those 5-star frog status reviews on Apple Podcasts. You're checking us out on Amazon Music. You're even checking us out on that dumb radio station that has the dumb, jingle that goes iHeartRadio or whatever it is. You're doing all that stuff. You're telling your mom about it. You're telling your dad about it. Your uncles, your aunties, your cousins, your brothers, your sisters, even your cousins. You're the ones that are like 3 times removed out of the family tree and they got brought back only to be cut off one more time. You're even sending us your enemies because we love haters too. You're doing all that stuff, or you're really just waiting for this episode to end, waiting for the outro, and then you're choosing another episode to listen to. Kawaii. What's going on? It is Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And what we need from you guys is to kind of show some support, right? We want you guys to go to our YouTube channel at the 3 Count Podcast. go onto our Twitch channel, 3 Count Pod, or even our Facebook page, 3 Count Podcast, and just give us a like, follow, subscribe, even give us a comment, right? Do all that cool stuff. Share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with your enemies, right? Or you can even come talk to us and just chat us up, right? Find us on Twitter at 3count_pod. Find us on IG and on TikTok at 3 Count Pod. Go ahead and leave us those comments. We want to hear from all of you guys. We're going to keep putting on videos and stuff like that. We want to keep making this content better, so we want your guys' support. Also, if you guys want to, go support us at prowrestlingtees.com/the 3 Count Podcast, or even find us on foryourwear.com. Give us the support. Show us your guys' love, because we want to give it right back to y'all. So, in the meantime, between time, love y'all.